The weights clanged against each other in the dimly lit Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California, on that humid Tuesday morning in August 1985. The familiar scent of iron and sweat hung heavy in the air as the sun filtered through the grimy windows, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Most of the serious bodybuilders had already claimed their territory around the free weights section, their massive frames moving with practiced precision through their morning routines. In the far corner of the gym, away from the main action, a smaller figure moved with fluid grace that seemed almost out of place among the grunting behemoths. Jackie Chan, barely 5'8" and weighing maybe 150 pounds, soaking wet, was deep into his training routine. But this wasn't the kind of training that made sense to the muscle-bound giants around him. While they focused on isolation movements and maximum weight, Jackie was doing something that looked more like a dance than a workout. His body flowed from one movement to the next, combining elements of martial arts with acrobatic conditioning that defied conventional fitness wisdom. He'd been coming to this particular gym for weeks now, preparing for his next film, and the regulars had started to take notice. "What the hell is that little guy doing over there?" muttered Rick Donovan, a competitive bodybuilder whose arms were bigger around than most people's legs. At 6'4" and 260 pounds of solid muscle, Rick had been training seriously for over a decade. He'd placed third in the previous year's Mr. California competition and was known throughout the gym for his incredible strength and no-nonsense approach to training. Rick's training partner, Mike Chen, glanced over at Jackie and shrugged. "Some kind of martial arts stuff, I think. He's been coming in here for a while now. Seems harmless enough." But Rick's attention was fully captured now. He watched as Jackie moved through a series of what looked like impossible movements, his body seeming to defy gravity as he transitioned from handstand push-ups into one-handed holds, then flowed seamlessly into a series of kicks that would have challenged a professional gymnast. "That's not training," Rick said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd dedicated his entire adult life to understanding the human body's capabilities. "That's just showing off. Real strength comes from progressive overload, heavy compound movements. This dancing around nonsense might look pretty, but it doesn't build real power." Jackie, focused entirely on his routine, seemed oblivious to the commentary from across the gym. He was working on a specific sequence that his stunt coordinator had requested for an upcoming scene where his character would need to fight his way out of a warehouse while injured. The movement required incredible core strength, perfect balance, and the ability to generate explosive power from awkward positions. As he moved into the next phase of his training, Jackie began working on what he called functional repetitions. These weren't the kind of reps that bodybuilders understood. Instead of moving a weight from point A to point B for a predetermined number of times, Jackie was training his body to perform complex movements under fatigue, building the kind of strength that could save his life during a dangerous stunt. He started with a movement that looked deceptively simple. From a standing position, he would drop into a deep squat, roll backward into a shoulder stand, then use the momentum to spring back to his feet without using his hands. But he wasn't just doing this movement once or twice. He was doing it over and over, each repetition flowing seamlessly into the next. Rick had finished his set of heavy bench presses and found himself walking over to get a closer look. The closer he got, the more intrigued he became. What had looked like random movement from across the gym was actually incredibly precise and controlled. Every muscle in Jackie's body was working in perfect coordination. And despite the complexity of what he was doing, he wasn't even breathing hard. "Excuse me," Rick said, his voice carrying the slight condescension that often comes with supreme confidence in one's own expertise. "I've been watching you train, and I have to ask what exactly you're trying to accomplish with all this acrobatic stuff." Jackie paused mid-movement, a slight smile crossing his face. He'd encountered this kind of skepticism before, particularly from Western athletes who had been raised on the philosophy that bigger was always better, that strength could only be measured by the amount of weight on a barbell. "I'm training for my work," Jackie replied in his accented English, his voice calm and respectful. "Every movement has purpose. In my films, I need to be able to move my body in ways that most people cannot imagine. This training prepares me for that." Rick nodded, but his expression remained skeptical. "I get that you're an actor, but real strength training is about progressive overload. You need to challenge your muscles with increasingly heavy resistance if you want to build actual power. What you're doing might be good for flexibility or coordination, but it's not going to make you strong." The conversation had attracted the attention of several other gym members, including Mike Chen and a few of the other regulars who had been curious about the small Asian man who trained so differently from everyone else. They formed a loose circle around Jackie and Rick, sensing that something interesting was about to happen. "Strength comes in many forms," Jackie said. His tone still friendly, but with an underlying confidence that suggested he knew something the bigger man didn't. "Perhaps you would like to see a demonstration." Rick's eyebrows rose. "A demonstration of what?" "You believe that my training is not effective for building real strength," Jackie said, moving to an open area of the gym floor. "I would like to show you something that might change your mind. But first, I have a question for you. How many push-ups can you do?" The question caught Rick off guard. Push-ups were such a basic exercise that he rarely thought about them anymore. His training focused on heavy bench presses, weighted dips, and other advanced movements that he considered far superior to bodyweight exercises. "I don't know," Rick said honestly. "Maybe 40 or 50 regular push-ups. But that's not really a measure of strength. Push-ups are just endurance. Real strength is about how much weight you can move." Jackie nodded, as if he understood perfectly. "You are right that there are different types of strength. But what if I told you that I could do 50 push-ups in a way that would be impossible for you, despite your greater size and muscle mass?" Now Rick was really intrigued. The challenge was clear, and his competitive nature wouldn't let him back down. "Impossible. That's a pretty strong word. What kind of push-ups are we talking about?" Instead of answering immediately, Jackie moved to the center of the open floor space. The other gym members had stopped their own workouts now, sensing that something special was about to happen. The atmosphere in the gym had shifted from the usual grinding focus of serious training to the electric anticipation of a challenge being issued. Jackie placed his hands on the floor in what looked like a standard push-up position. But as he settled into the stance, Rick noticed that something was different. Jackie's hand placement was unusual. His fingers spread wide and his wrists positioned at an angle that looked uncomfortable. "These are called one-finger push-ups," Jackie said calmly, and then he did something that made everyone watching question what they were seeing. He lifted 9 of his fingers off the ground, supporting his entire body weight on just his index fingers. The gym fell completely silent except for the distant hum of the air conditioning system. Even the biggest, strongest men there had never seen anything like this. Rick's mouth actually dropped open as he watched Jackie lower his body to the floor and push back up. His entire 150 pounds, supported by just 2 fingers. But Jackie wasn't done. After completing 1 perfect repetition, he looked up at Rick with a slight smile. "Now I will do 49 more." What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Jackie began performing one-finger push-ups with a rhythm and control that seemed to mock everything the bodybuilders thought they knew about strength training. Each repetition was perfect, his body moving as one unit, his breathing controlled and steady. Rick found himself counting along involuntarily. 5, 6, 7. Each number that passed seemed to challenge everything he believed about physical conditioning. How was it possible for someone so much smaller to demonstrate this kind of strength? The physics didn't make sense according to everything he'd learned about muscle development and power generation. By the time Jackie reached 20 repetitions, a crowd had gathered. Other gym members had abandoned their own workouts to witness what was happening. Some were taking pictures with the primitive cameras they carried, knowing that no one would believe this story without proof. 25, 26, 27. Rick's voice had lost all of its earlier skepticism and was now filled with genuine amazement. The technical difficulty of what Jackie was doing was becoming more apparent with each repetition. This wasn't just about finger strength. It required incredible core stability, perfect body alignment, and the kind of mind-muscle connection that took years to develop. Mike Chen leaned over to another gym regular and whispered, "I've been training here for 8 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Most people can't even hold their body weight on their index fingers for 5 seconds, let alone do multiple push-ups." As Jackie approached the 40-rep mark, something even more remarkable became apparent. He wasn't slowing down. If anything, his form was becoming more precise, his breathing more controlled. While a normal person would be shaking with fatigue by now, Jackie looked like he could continue indefinitely. 45, 46, 47. Rick's voice was barely above a whisper now. The demonstration had transcended simple physical achievement and had become something almost spiritual. Everyone watching understood that they were witnessing a level of human capability that existed far beyond their previous understanding. When Jackie completed the 50th repetition and smoothly transitioned back to a standing position, the gym erupted in spontaneous applause. Even Rick, despite having his entire worldview of strength training challenged, found himself clapping enthusiastically. But Jackie wasn't finished. As the applause died down, he looked directly at Rick and said, Would you like to try one? The challenge hung in the air like a physical thing. Rick, despite being nearly twice Jackie's size, and having trained seriously for over a decade, found himself genuinely intimidated by the prospect of attempting even a single one-finger push-up. He moved to the floor and tried to position himself the way Jackie had demonstrated. The moment Rick tried to lift his other fingers off the ground, he understood the true magnitude of what he had just witnessed. The amount of concentrated strength required was unlike anything he had ever experienced. His index finger felt like it might snap under the pressure, and he couldn't even begin to lower his body toward the floor. "This is impossible," Rick said, the words coming out before he could stop them. But as soon as he said it, he realized how those words must sound to Jackie, who had just completed 50 perfect repetitions of the impossible movement. Jackie helped Rick back to his feet, his expression kind and understanding. "What seems impossible is often just unfamiliar," he said gently. "Your training has made you very strong in certain ways. My training has made me strong in different ways. Neither is better or worse. They are simply different paths to different goals." The crowd began to disperse slowly, but Rick remained transfixed. Everything he thought he knew about strength and conditioning had been turned upside down in the space of 15 minutes. The smaller man in front of him had just demonstrated a level of physical capability that challenged every assumption Rick had made about the relationship between size, muscle mass, and actual strength. "How?" Rick asked simply. "How is that even possible?" Jackie's smile was warm and genuine. "In China, we have a saying, the bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists. Your training focuses on building maximum muscle mass and moving heavy external weights. This creates one type of strength, and it is very impressive. But my training focuses on developing complete control over my own body weight and building strength that can be applied in any position, at any angle, under any circumstances." He gestured toward the weight room, where the other bodybuilders had resumed their routines. "Your bench press might be 3 or 4 times stronger than mine. But can you do a handstand push-up? Can you generate power while hanging upside down? Can you maintain perfect balance while fighting on a narrow beam?" Rick shook his head, beginning to understand the distinction Jackie was making. "So you're saying there are different types of strength?" "Exactly," Jackie replied. "What I demonstrated today took me many years to develop. I started training when I was very young, and my master taught me that true strength comes not from how much you can lift, but from how completely you can control your own body. Every day, I practice movements that challenge my balance, my coordination, my flexibility, and my strength simultaneously." As they talked, Jackie began to explain the philosophy behind his training methods. He described how traditional Chinese martial arts viewed the human body as an integrated system, rather than a collection of individual muscles to be developed in isolation. Every exercise was designed to improve multiple aspects of physical capability at the same time. "In my films, I cannot rely on just being strong," Jackie explained. "I need to be able to move in 3 dimensions, to generate power from awkward positions, to maintain control even when I am injured or exhausted. The one-finger push-ups are just one small part of a training system that prepares me for anything I might encounter." Rick found himself asking question after question, his competitive nature now redirected toward understanding rather than challenging. He wanted to know about Jackie's training schedule, his diet, his recovery methods. Most importantly, he wanted to understand how someone could develop such incredible specialized strength without the massive muscle development that Rick had always associated with power. "The secret," Jackie said, "is not in building bigger muscles, but in teaching the muscles you have to work together more efficiently. When I do a one-finger push-up, I am not just using my finger muscles. I am using every muscle in my body in perfect coordination. My legs, my core, my back, my shoulders, they all work as one unit to support that movement." As their conversation continued, other gym members began to drift over, drawn by the discussion of training methods they had never considered. Mike Chen asked about the practical applications of such training, wondering if it could help him overcome a plateau he'd been experiencing in his own development. Jackie was generous with his knowledge, explaining how traditional martial arts training could complement Western bodybuilding methods rather than replace them. He demonstrated several exercises that could be incorporated into a conventional workout routine, movements that would challenge stability and coordination while still building strength. "The key is balance," Jackie explained as he showed them a modified push-up variation that incorporated elements of his training. "Your body is like a symphony orchestra. If you only train the drums, you will have very loud music, but it will not be beautiful. You need all the instruments working together in harmony. The demonstration had lasted for over an hour, and Jackie finally needed to return to his own training routine. But before he left, Rick approached him with a request that surprised everyone, including himself. "Would you be willing to teach me some of these techniques?" Rick asked, his voice humble in a way that was completely unlike his usual confident demeanor. "I've been training the same way for years, and I think I've been missing something important." Jackie's face lit up with genuine pleasure. "Of course. But I must warn you, this type of training requires great patience. You will not see the same rapid progress that you are used to with weight training. Building this kind of strength takes time and consistent practice." They arranged to meet twice a week for training sessions, with Jackie agreeing to incorporate some of his methods into Rick's routine, while helping him understand the philosophical foundations behind the movements. Rick, for his part, offered to share his knowledge of nutrition and muscle development, creating an exchange that would benefit both men. As Jackie finally returned to his own training, the atmosphere in the gym had changed permanently. The demonstration had opened everyone's eyes to possibilities they had never considered. Several of the other regulars approached Rick throughout the rest of his workout, asking about what they had witnessed and whether he really planned to start training with Jackie. Word of what had happened spread quickly through the Venice Beach fitness community. By evening, stories of the small Asian actor who could do 51 finger push-ups were being told in gyms and fitness centers throughout the area. Some of the stories grew in the telling, with later versions claiming Jackie had done 100 repetitions, or had performed the feat while balancing on a tightrope. But for Rick, the experience had been profoundly personal. That night, he found himself researching martial arts training methods and traditional Chinese approaches to physical development. Everything he read reinforced what Jackie had demonstrated, that strength was far more complex and multifaceted than he had ever imagined. The next morning, Rick arrived at the gym earlier than usual and found Jackie already deep into his routine. Without saying a word, Rick began attempting some of the basic exercises Jackie had shown him the day before. They were incredibly difficult, requiring a level of body awareness and control that his years of conventional training hadn't developed. As he struggled through the movements, Rick began to understand something fundamental about the nature of physical development. The massive muscles he had spent years building were certainly impressive, but they had been developed to work in very specific ways under very controlled conditions. Jackie's training had prepared his body to adapt and respond to any situation, to generate power and maintain control, regardless of position or circumstance. Over the following weeks, their training partnership developed into a genuine friendship. Rick learned that Jackie's physical capabilities were just the surface expression of a much deeper philosophy about human potential and the importance of continuous learning. Jackie, meanwhile, gained insights into Western training methods that helped him understand how to better prepare for the increasingly demanding stunts his Hollywood career required. The story of their first encounter became legendary within the gym, but more importantly, it sparked a broader conversation about the limitations of conventional thinking in any field. Rick found himself applying the lessons he learned from Jackie, not just to his physical training, but to his approach to business, relationships, and personal growth. Years later, when Rick had achieved success as both a competitive bodybuilder and a martial arts practitioner, he would often tell the story of the day Jackie Chan taught him that the word impossible was usually just another way of saying unfamiliar. The demonstration of 51 finger push-ups had lasted only a few minutes, but its impact had changed the trajectory of his entire life. The deeper lesson, Rick realized, was not about physical strength at all. It was about the danger of assuming that your way of doing something is the only way, and the incredible opportunities that open up when you remain humble enough to learn from others, regardless of their size, background, or approach. Jackie's demonstration had been impressive, but his willingness to share his knowledge and learn from others had been truly extraordinary. In a world where expertise often creates barriers between people, Jackie had used his abilities to build bridges, turning a potential confrontation into an opportunity for mutual growth and understanding. The one-finger push-ups had been impossible only until someone showed that they weren't, and in that moment of revelation, everyone watching learned something important about the difference between actual limitations and imagined ones, between what can't be done and what simply hasn't been tried yet.